Okay, I might start now, and then if anyone else joins, I can catch them up.
No
So I'll
problem.
just share my screen. So just let me know when you can see my screen.
Yes, I can.
Yep. Okay, cool. So this is what we'll be making today. It's called, what's it called? It's called AI Friend. So when I press play, it has some speech bubbles, and then it asks me what my name is. So then I can answer. And then it takes my answer and like says, nice to meet you and stuff. And then if it asks me how old am I can put in a number, and then it can like say stuff based on what my age was, and then I can say apple or something. And so basically it replies like depending on what my answers were.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what we'll be making. So if everyone just opens up Scratch and create a new project. So we first just want to choose a character, so you guys can quickly do that. And remember to delete, if you don't want one, to delete it, you just right click and press delete. And then to choose a new sprite, you just click on that button that says new sprite. And then you can just choose something. So I'll just choose this first one.
Okay.
And if you want to make it bigger or smaller, you can use these tools up here. So the arrows going outwards can make it bigger. And the arrow going inwards can make it smaller. You can just do that.
I'm just having internet issues here.
Oh, okay.
It's just really slow, that's all.
All right. That's all good.
I think I'm just frozen.
Oh, no. Is it getting Scratch open?
I've got it open, I just can't get into anything at the moment. I'm
All
going to
right.
have to do a restart.
Oh, okay. That's okay. We can wait a couple of minutes to see if it loads or anything.
I'll just go out and come back in. Beautiful. Now I need a new sprite.
Yep.
Okay, so is that all we were up to? New sprite?
Yep. So just adding in the sprite.
Yep. Thank you.
Okay. And then, so what we want to do is we want to make our sprite talk. So the first thing I think this one said was hello or something. So to do that, the very first thing we need is the when green flag clicked, because if you remember, that makes whatever code underneath it happen once you start the game.
Yep.
And then to make our sprite say something, I think, yeah. So if you go into looks, there's these say blocks here.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to use this first one that says say hello for 2 seconds, because that'll make it say whatever you want it to say in there for however many seconds.
Mm-hmm.
So we can keep that as hello and 2 seconds, or you can change the message, but that's just like the hi thing. And now we want to ask, so if we go back to this, it's asking us what's our name. That was the next step. So to do that, we can't use the say block, because if I press play again, do you see how hello is just that, but then what's your name has this text box here?
Oh, yep.
Yeah, so it's a different block. Okay. Okay, cool. So it's a different block. So that's an ask block. So I think I have to find it. Okay. It should be somewhere. um,
Ask what's your name and wait. In
yeah.
sensing,
In sensing. Okay, thank you. Oh, yeah, thank you. Yep, so we use this block and then ask, and we want to ask what's your name. And the and wait part means it's just waiting for us to give an answer.
Mm-hmm.
So like if I go back to this, it's still saying what's your name because I haven't given it an answer yet. So we want to ask what's your name. And then if you press play, it should do that. But then if you type in something, it doesn't do anything after that. So we want to be able to do something with that answer that we typed in, because we want to be able to say like hi and then whatever your name was.
Mm-hmm.
So do you see underneath there's this answer block here?
Yes.
So if you just tick it, you can see what the thing was that I typed in. So do you see how answer says hi on the screen?
Yep.
So like if I type in name, like answer's name.
Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, so it changes depending on what your answer is, basically. So we want to be able to use this, and we want our sprite to say hi and then your name. So if you go back into look, sorry, we can get this say block again.
Mm-hmm.
And then we want to be able to say, so we want to be able to say nice to meet you and then whatever your name was. So to do that, we can type in nice to meet you. But then we also want to add in like our answer. So we can't just put that in because we want text and our answer. So if you go into operators, do you see this join block here?
Yep.
Yep, so we want to use that. So we can put answer in the second space here, and then we can put nice to meet you in the first spot. And then you can put that inside your say block. So now when you press play, you can just test it out and see what happens. So does that part make sense so far?
So mine just stops at, you know how it says what's your name and wait?
Yeah.
Then it doesn't go to nice to meet you.
Okay, so when it asked you what's your name and wait, did you type in anything on that text box on the bottom?
I thought I had.
So like down here. And then you have to press enter or something. Or like click on that little tick to make sure that it's sent.
Okay, let me have another go. Ah, yes.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Thank you.
All good. Yeah, so basically whenever it has the and wait, it's waiting for something to happen. So like the asking is waiting for us to give an answer.
Okay,
Yeah.
when I go in again, it's gone and I've got to type it again. Do I
So
have to?
when you press play again,
Yeah.
is that what you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think it just starts new every
Oh,
time you
okay.
press play. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because it doesn't remember it because it only remembers it after you've given the answer. So like when you
Okay.
start new, at that point you haven't given an answer.
Yep.
Yeah, yeah. So answer is a bit like a variable. I think, do you guys remember doing variables?
The positive, negative.
Not exactly. So it's in data and make a variable. Maybe we didn't do it yet, but a variable is just like a little box that remembers something.
Okay.
So answer is a bit like that. It works a bit differently because like it's it works the same, but except like it starts over every time you press play. But it just remembers what you have typed, and
Oh,
then
okay.
it can be a number or a word or like anything, and then we can. But yeah, sorry. So we can also make a variable. So we'll be making that next because we want to make one for her age. But I'll just go in order. Sorry. But yeah, so basically it just remembers what you typed in. And then you can always change it later. So like if I have another, I'll just show you. If I have another ask here, ask what's your name again, and then I'll just tick answer so we can see. If I press play, right now it's A, but then when it asks me again, if I type in B, it like changes that value, if that makes sense. So it's just using this same like answer variable, but we can just change whatever the answer is. Does that make sense? So you can test it as well and just see how it works. So does that part kind of make sense?
Yep.
Oh, yep. Okay, cool. So now if we go, the next thing it's asking us is how old are we? So we can do that by having another ask block and saying, how old are you? But now if you see, I'll just type in 10 or something. When I add in an answer, it says, you're younger than me. I'm 13 years old. If I do a different number, so if I make it more than 13, sorry. So if I do 20, it says you're older than me. So it actually like checks what your answer is and compares it to whatever her age was. So to do that, we first need to set an age for our sprite, and that's where we create a variable. So the variable is just a thing that remembers, like it holds some sort of data. So we want to make a variable name called, my sprite is called Abby, so I'm just going to say Abby's age or something, and then press OK. So now you have all of these things, all of these blocks here.
Yep.
Yep. So because it's just like a piece of data, we just want to set her age to be something, and we'll just add that at the very beginning. So I'll just do the same thing as what the example had. So I'll set Abby's age to 13. So what that does is now we have like a set age for her, and we can use it to compare it with our answer later on. So now what we want to do is we want to check if like the answer we gave is less than Abby's age. We want to say, you're younger than me. So if you remember in control, this if then block, what that does is it checks if like whatever in there is true. If whatever in there is true, then it will do something.
Yep.
Yep. And there's also this if then and else block. So it does the same thing. So it checks if whatever in there is true, it does something. Otherwise, it does something else.
Mm-hmm.
So what we want to do is we want to use the if, then, and else block, because we can check if like the answer we gave is less than Abby's age, then say you're younger than me, else say you're older than me. So we can just put that in there. So now we actually need to check if it's like greater than or less than. So if you go into operators again,
Mm-hmm.
do you see these symbols here?
Yep.
Yep. So we'll just do the less than one. That's the first one. And we can just put it in the if block. So right now it's just if blank is less than blank. And now we actually need to add something in. So if you go back into sensing, we can get answer. So if whatever we type, so if our age is less than, and then you go into data, if our age is less than Abby's age, we want to say something. So we go back into looks and we can say, you're younger than me. And then you can just add another one saying, you're older than me. And you can just test it to see if it works. So you can test it twice, one when it's older and one when it's younger. So is that working for everyone so far?
Yep.
Yep, okay. Another thing we want to do is, so if we test it in the example one again, so if we do the same age as our character, it'll say you're the same age as me.
Mm-hmm.
So we want to add another thing in here that'll check if it's the same age. So what we can do is, right now we're checking if it's less than Abby's age, then say you're younger than me. Otherwise, if it's anything else, say you're older than me. So if I press play and if I do the same age now, it should just say you're older than me. So we want to add another if block that'll check if it's the same age. So if you go into control and just get an if then block, what we can do is, oh wait, sorry. You can get an if then and else block. And what we can do is we can put, actually, sorry for confusing you. So we can use either one, because what we're going to do in our if block is check if like our answer is the same as Abby's age, then say we're the same age. And then if it's not, if it's anything else, then basically you're older than Abby. Does that make sense so far?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So we can do it either way. So we can use this one and say if it's the same age, then say you're older than me. Oh, sorry. Then say we're the same age. Else, say you're older than me. But we can also just use this one, the if then, because what we can do is we can put it inside that, inside our else block there. So like we have an if else, and then we have another if inside that. So that's called a nested else. That's called a nested if block because it's like nested inside another one. So we can check now. So if we're not younger, then we can check if we're equal to. So if we go into operators, the second one is the equal to one. We can put that in there and then get answer again and then get Abby's age. So basically right now it's saying if our age is less than Abby's age, then it'll say you're younger than me. Else, then inside the else it would say, if our age is equal to Abby's age, then we want to say, you're the same age as me. And then if it's not that one, then basically it would mean that you're older than her. Because if you're not less than her age, or if you're not equal to her age, then it would mean that you're greater than her age. So that would be the only thing left. So you can just put that in there. Oh, sorry, I'll just change this. You can just put that after the if block, and then you can say, you're older than me. Because what that does is it checks if you're younger, like if your age is less than Abby's age, then it'll say you're younger than me, else. So that would mean anything except for being younger. So if it's equal to, then you're the same age. And if it's not that, we can just throw it down there, because if it's not equal to, then you know that you're older than Abby. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So just test it and see if it works. Oh, okay. Hang on. That didn't work. Sorry. So we actually do need, if you go into control, sorry about that, we actually need another if then block. If then and else, because I don't know if you tested it, if it's the same age, it said you're the same age, and then straight after it said you're older than me. So if I test it now, it says you're the same age as me, and now it says you're older than me straight after.
Mm-hmm.
That's because like it
follows.
Yeah, so it does this if block, but then because this is just sitting there, it does that straight after. So we actually do need the if else block. So you can just move whatever you had in the if block and put it in the if else. And then if you're not the same age as me, then it would mean you're older than her, because we put it in the else block again. So I'll just go over it again. So if we are less than Abby's age, then it would mean that we're younger than her. Else, if it's anything else, we first check if our age is equal to Abby's age. That would mean we're the same age. Else, if it's anything else from that, it basically means we're not younger than her, or we're not the same age. So it would mean that we're older than her. So just test that again and see if it works. And test it with all three combinations. So it should work. Does that part make sense to everyone?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll just quickly go over what we did before, because I think someone came in late. Okay. So to get these boxes up on the screen, we don't actually need them when we're testing our game, but I just have them there so we know like what our answers were when we typed in. So to get the Abby's age one, that's the variable which we made. So if you see how Abby's age is here, and there's a little checkbox here, you just tick that to see what that is. And then you do the same for answer, and answer is in sensing. So answer is over here, and there's just a little checkbox. So you just tick it. So basically, like if you see our test one, it doesn't have the little boxes on the left-hand corner. We just have it here because we're testing it and we want to see like if what we're typing is correct. So like right now, the last thing I typed was I was 13 and Abby was 13. So then we know that it's the same age. So it's just like when you have a lot of code, it's easy to test and check if that's what's happening. So does this part make sense so far? Yeah. Sorry, this part was a little confusing, the if and else block. Okay, so the next part is now it's asking what your favorite food is. So I can say like apples, and then it'll say apples is delicious, but sushi is my favorite food. So to do that, we first need another ask block. So ask, and this time we want to put it after all our if then blocks. So we want to ask what is your favorite food? And then we can just do what we did like with when it said nice to meet you. So with this join block, how it said nice to meet you and then your name. So you can get another say block. Then if you go into operators, we want to get a join block. I'm gonna say, what did it say? Hang on, let me just check. Okay, so what we wanna say is whatever your food is as the first thing. So that would be answer again, because the answer has changed after asking us. So we can say answer is yummy. I'm just going to say answer is yummy, but sushi is my favorite food. So once again, just test if that works. I spelled that wrong, but yeah. And also, if you want it to be on screen for longer, because this is a bit of a long sentence compared to what's your name or something, it might be hard to read it all before it disappears. So you can just change this, how it says for 2 seconds. You can just change it to a bigger number, like 4 or something. So that just changes how long that speech bubble is on screen for. So now when I press play, you can just test it again. And if you look, the whatever your answer was and then is might be really close together. So you just can add a space in front of it. So is everyone's working so far? And does it also make sense?
Mine still is, I'm having to type the answer in.
Okay, so it's not going to your next block again?
No.
Okay, maybe just double check that you've pressed enter or that you pressed the tick. Have you tried that? So after the answer thing, that bottom text box should like disappear.
Yeah, but I'm still having to type it in, I think. Let me have another go.
Okay.
Yeah, it won't put the answer in, even though I've hit enter.
Okay, so it's just not saying anything? Like, is
No,
it still stuck on that screen with the answer box on the bottom?
yeah.
Okay. Um,
And I've got answer ticked.
yep. Does answer, like, in your little left-hand corner, does that say anything?
No,
You typed anything?
not until I hit the tick. So
Yeah.
each time I go, I'm still having to type it in.
Ah, okay. Do you want to maybe share your screen so I can see what you're talking about? So
Okay.
do you know how to share your screen? So I'll just stop mine for a second. So there should be a setting, I think, on the bottom or the top that says
Yeah, I've
start.
just hit share.
Okay. It might take a little while to load. Oh, so make sure you're clicking share in the Zoom tab, so not on Scratch.
Okay, hang on, let me go back to
So I think it should say start share or share screen, something like that.
yep, I'll just go back into into what I was doing there.
Yep.
Oh, I think I might have just lost that.
Oh no.
Yes, I have.
The whole program.
Yep,
Oh no. Okay.
that's all right.
Shall I? Okay, I'll share my screen again and then you can quickly add in those blocks again. Did you accidentally close out of it or something?
Oh, when I hit share, I think. Oh,
Oh, because sometimes I think if you hit share, it should be somewhere. Wherever share is. What do you have on your Scratch screen right now?
okay, I'm just going back in again.
Okay. Because sometimes when you click share, it shows you like just your sprite, but then you can click something to see your code again, like see inside or something.
Okay, just 2 seconds. Okay,
Yep.
where am I? My stuff maybe in there. Share
Yeah.
projects. There we go. There it is. See inside.
Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's all good.
Okay, there I am. Now let me
Okay.
share over here.
Okay. I'll stop mine again.
And where am I sharing? On here. Share
So,
screen.
yep.
Okay,
Okay.
there we go.
Cool. Yep. Um, okay. Do you mind just pressing play and then
Yep.
going through it?
Now see how the box comes up and I have to type it in every time.
Yeah. So that's normal because each time it's asking you what's your name. So it's like a new program,
Oh,
like
okay.
a new conversation kind of thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So
So
yours
that's
is
right.
yeah,
Okay.
it's right. Yeah.
Yep.
There's just one thing with your code I can see. So do you see how you have the if you the part where it says you are older than me? So that
Yeah,
third
yeah.
if then block. So that has nothing inside it.
Okay.
So it might not work. So what you need to do is so you first need to check if answer is greater than D's age. So if you go into operators and get that greater than block, which is the third. Yep. And then you can get answer. Oh wait, no, it's there.
Where is it? Where is it?
It's
Oh, there
under
it
the
is.
F. Yep. So if your answer is greater than, and then if you go back into data, D's age. So now that should work. So you can just test
Beautiful.
it and see if it works.
Beauty.
Yep, okay, cool.
Thank you.
Oh, good. Yeah, because basically, because it's like a conversation kind of thing, it'll ask you each time
Okay.
what it is. And the
Yep.
only reason, so if you press play, Abby's age is still the same is because
Yep.
we made that variable.
Mm-hmm.
So like we always set it to 13, so it's already set.
Yep.
And answer works a bit differently because it just depends on whatever, like you need an answer thing only after you have that ask block.
Mm-hmm.
So
Okay.
it only gets set after that block.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, good. Also, another thing we can add into this one is, so if you look at the example one, in the age thing, when I type in an age, it says you're younger than me or whatever, and I'm 13 years old.
Mm-hmm.
So we can add the I'm however many years old as well, because right now we just have you're younger than me, or you're the same age, or you're older than me. So to do that, we use our join blocks again. So if you go into operators, so I forgot to explain, but basically the join block joins two bits of like words or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So like you can do it for two different words like hello and world, but then you can also do it if you're adding a variable, because like these words or sentences are called strings, and it just joins the strings together. So like we can display the age, so 13 in the variable can be a string, and that's why you can join like some text and that variable, and it displays it as a sentence or a word, which is a string. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Okay. So to do the you're younger than me, I'm this many years old, you can just type in you're younger than me, I'm, and then you can get your variable, and then you can get Abby's age or whatever your age is. And then you can just put that in your say block. And you can do that for each one. So and remember, if you don't want the number like placed directly next to your words, so like if it says I'm 13 but there's no space, you just add a space after your I am. Because when it joins it, it just like throws them all together. So you can put that in there and then put in the you're older than me. Because technically, if this was like a conversation, we wouldn't know, like we wouldn't have this Abby's age thing on the top left corner. So that's why like she can say, you're younger than me, I'm this old or whatever. So just test if that works again. And if you want, so do you see how when you type in an age, it just says you're younger than me and then I'm like your number?
Yep.
So if you want it to say like I'm your number and then years old, so like if I type in 10, right now it says you're younger than me, I'm 13.
Yep.
But if you want it to say you're younger than me, I'm 13 years old, what you can do is you can add another join block inside it. So I'll just take this join Wait, I'll take this join block out for the minute. So right now it's like your text, you're younger than me, I'm, and then you have Abby's age. But we want to have some text after that as well. So to do that, you can put another join block inside that join block. So then you can say, you're younger than me, I'm, and then you can put Abby's age, and then years old. So basically you're joining the first sentence with like another join thing, which joins like your age and years old, like the text years old. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So just test it again and see if it works. Yep. Okay, cool. So does anyone have any questions with this bit so far? Any parts of it that's confusing or you want me to go over or anything like that?
Nope, that's all good.
No? Okay, cool. So what we can do is I might show you okay, so I'll show you with the food thing. So hello, and you type in your age. And then it asks what your favorite food is. And if you say sushi, because that's her favorite food, it says sushi is yummy, but sushi is my favorite food. So what you can do is you can just say sushi. Like we might want to change it to say if your favorite food is sushi, then we might want to say that's my favorite food too. So we can do that similar to how we did it with the age. So if you go back into control, we can get another if then else block. And then just gonna scroll down. What we can do is we can check if our answer equals sushi. So we can go into operators and get equals. And then we can get answer. So if whatever we typed in equals sushi, so it's just checking because they're two words, it's just checking if the words are the same. Because we can use it like to check numbers and stuff, but we can also use it to check words. So if answer equals to sushi, then we could say something like, that's my favorite food too. And then in the else block, so if what you typed wasn't sushi, then you can just put that say block you had underneath in the else block. So if your answer equals sushi, then it'll say that's my favorite food too. Otherwise, it'll say whatever you typed in is yummy, but sushi is my favorite. So you can just test it in, see how it works. Okay, that didn't work. So you have to make sure that it's very, so do you see how in my code I have a space here? So it's very picky. So what you type in has to be exactly what you're checking. So right now in my code I have if answer equals sushi with a space, but I'll just get rid of that space. So now I'll test it again. Okay, no, that still didn't work. Okay. Let me just check why that is. Okay. So I guess it depends on like coding and stuff, because usually you can compare different things with code. Like you can compare words, but it might be with Scratch this equal sign is just for numbers. There should be another way to do it though. Hmm. Okay, I'm trying to see if there's a way. But yeah, so what this code is doing right now is the equal sign is only like checking it for numbers. But in other code, there usually is a way to check like if words or like, you know how I mentioned strings? If strings equals, like if that word equals another word. Hmm. Okay. I'm not sure where Scratch might have it. Maybe one thing we could do. Let me just try this really quick. I'm just gonna try and make a variable called sushi. So I'm gonna set this variable. Oh, sorry. I'm gonna make a variable called food. So ignore the sushi one. I'm gonna set food to be sushi. So now we'll see if this works. We can try compare if our answer equals food. So let me just test it real quick. Okay, yeah, so that works. So I'll just quickly tell you guys what I did. So do you see how before in my if answer equals, so instead of food, I just had sushi typed in directly there? So that didn't work. So what we had to do is I had to make another variable called food or something. And then I set that food to sushi. So that variable is kind of like what we did for Abby's age, because Abby's age is like how we set her age. So set food is like setting Abby's favorite food. So we set her favorite food to be sushi. And then we said, if our answer equals her favorite food, then we can say, that's my favorite food too. Does that kind of make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So basically, answer what we typed in last was sushi, and then food is also sushi. So they're both words, but we can also compare them to see if they're equal to each other as well. So like this equals to operator doesn't just have to be used for numbers. It can also be used for words, but we just have to make sure that that word is in a variable. So if everyone adds that part and just checks if it works. So what I did was I just added an if then and an else block. And then inside I said, if the answer equals our variable food, then we can say that's my favorite food. Otherwise, we can say that's yummy, but this is my favorite food. So I'll just zoom out so you guys can see all my code. Hang on. Does that part make sense? Sorry, that was a little confusing. So basically we're comparing what our answer, so it's the same as the age thing again. We're comparing if what we typed in is the same as what Abby likes, except this time instead of it being a number, it's a word. And then we can even like, so now instead of saying at the end, so if the answer and the food is not the same, you know how it says like whatever you said is yummy, but something is my favorite food?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of saying sushi here, we can actually do like what we did with the age thing by actually using the variable. So instead of hard coding it to write sushi, we can say like, we can use another join block. Because do you remember how in our age thing, sorry, just going to move this. In our age thing, we said like, you're younger than me, I'm, and then her age, years old. Instead of actually typing in 13,
Oh, yep.
we use the variable. Yeah, sorry. So what we can do is instead of actually typing in sushi, we can use whatever our food variable is. So we can say, answer is yummy, but sushi is my favorite food. So you can put that join in there and you can say, whatever your answer is yummy, but my favorite food is, and then you can put the variable in there. So it'll do the same thing, but instead of like hard coding it to say sushi, you can use that variable, because what we can do now is instead of setting our food to sushi, it might change and it might be like chips or something. And now if we play, it should still work with chips. So if I compare it, so if I type in chips, now it should say that's my favorite food too, because we changed the variable. Does that make sense? So if we test it again, and if we type in sushi this time, it wouldn't work because, let me just show you guys. Because her favorite food is no longer sushi, it would say, but my favorite food is chips. Yep. Okay. So that's basically just comparing variables and like checking if they're the same and then doing things depending on it. So that's basically what this conversation thing is. And then we can even change Abby's age. So like if she had her birthday, now she might be 14. All we need to do is we just change whatever we set the age to be up here, and all the other code just stays the same. Because we didn't actually type in like 14 in here anywhere. So we never said if answer is less than 14. We said if answer is less than Abby's age. Because it's a variable that we made, a variable can always change. Like it only changes when we set it to change, but we might want to set it to change like once in a while. So yeah, it just makes it easier. So is everyone's working fine and does it all make sense?
Yep.
Yep. Okay. Does anyone have any questions or want to know how to do anything extra? So I think that's all for this game. Yeah. Does anyone have any questions like about Scratch in general? Because I think this is our last class. So
Yeah.
yeah. So was there anything that confused you with any of our other games or something you didn't get working?
No, I think it's good you just fiddle around and you can work it that way.
Yeah, that's like a lot of coding. You just have to
Yeah.
fiddle around. Like even what I was doing with the sushi thing, like I just had to fiddle around with it to get it to work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because like, yeah, and like with coding, you don't like, just give up straight away. You just like play around, and there's usually a way to do something.
Mm.
Yeah. And then you just need to do a lot of testing as well.
Yeah.
So like with something like this, we like with the age, you have to test like if it's the same, if it's less than, or if it's equal to. Like you got to test all scenarios to see if everything is working. So like that's basically all to do with coding.
No, it's certainly interesting.
Yeah. Did you guys have fun like
Yeah, it
working on
was
stuff
good.
and stuff?
There was some good little tips in there that I've picked up as I've gone along, so that was good.
Okay, that's good. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes like once you just know the basic structure of things and stuff like that, then you
Mm.
can just play around and try figure things out.
Yeah. No, that was good.
Yeah. So it's always good just to play around and test it. And like it's good that you guys are doing it in your own time and stuff too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, very good. Thank you very
Mm.
much.
All good. Thanks for coming.
No worries. Thank you.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye bye.
So yeah, guys. If there's no other questions, then I guess that's all. So thank you for coming.